All right. Welcome back to another episode of Dogging and Molina. I got to tell you that intro video is looking good, even with the Taylor Swift tunes on the front end. Sounds like Taylor Swift. I don't know.
I
Is that
thought he,
Taylor
I thought he
Swift?
went to like no, I thought he went to like
Yeah.
got a local garage band to do a little intro for him.
I knew Mike would appreciate it because Mike's like a music aficionado. If y'all guys don't know that, Mike's the guy who will go to a concert by himself. That's Mike.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't know.
So I knew of everyone Mike would appreciate it. But the ending is still
I grew up with
unfortunate.
80s R&B and some gangster rap. So
I was
Oh,
using
yeah.
like that website and I was
80s,
like
we
trying to
went
find
all-
something.
We went punk in the 80s. We did everything, man. We
No
go to
way,
punk.
Mike. No way you were listening to punk rock in the 80s, Mike.
I saw the Ramones in 1981.
Did you at CBGB's, Mike? Is that where
No,
you saw
I did
him?
not go to CBGB's. We saw them in Chicago a couple times.
That's
probably
pretty epic.
probably 4 or 5 times.
Really?
But and then we'd go the next day and go see the Allman Brothers or something. You know,
That's an interesting.
what's the
interesting
best?
mix.
What's the best concert you ever been to, Penozo?
the best
See, this
concert
is-
I've ever been to.
This is why you're
I
the
would
GOAT,
say-
Mike.
I would say I was in New Orleans, and the Armory in New Orleans was not a huge place, and saw B.B. King and Al Green.
Oh, that's pretty sweet, man. That's
That is
pretty
That
sweet.
that was pretty top. That was pretty top notch.
Yeah.
Did you still dress like a nerd when you went to go see the Ramones? Is what I want to know.
No, we the first.
Or did you have the leather jacket and the studs?
We did have the leather
and-
jacket. Well, we didn't have the studs. We had the leather jackets. First time we went to a punk show, we actually went in Milwaukee, and this was probably like 78 or 79.
Oh, right,
And
right in the thick of
we
it.
just
right in the thick
we
of
just went in there and just started throwing ourselves around the dance floor, because that's when slam
Yeah.
dancing was the whole thing.
The
Everybody
mosh
just, like,
pit. Yeah.
Everybody just like run into each other and bounce off each other. My buddy took a running start at someone and just basically decked him. And the
Yeah.
guy got up and he looked at him, and at first he looked like he wanted to fight, and then all of a sudden he like started shaking his head and he was like, "Yeah." man." I was like,
Mike's
"Okay,
tall
this is
enough.
for us."
Mike's tall enough where Mike was the guy where I would see him in the crowd and I'd run and jump and use his shoulders to pogo right off the guy, because you were the guy with height that I wanted to use for leverage, Mike. You
That's
were that
crazy.
guy if I saw you out there.
Hey, I went to
Plus,
see.
you're skinny enough where I wasn't worried about getting in a fight. You know,
That's
We're
true.
eventually going to get the pool, but I got to tell you
Yes.
guys, one time I saw Biohazard at Hammerjacks in Baltimore. Yeah, and I was.
How did
I
you
was
get
in
lost
the
in there,
pit.
Joe?
It was insane. I don't know. Anyway,
That does not seem like your cup of tea at all, Joe.
hey, I have a very diverse range of music that I follow.
You should. Everybody should.
Yeah, like I've seen Janet Jackson in concert, Billy Joel.
Well, I draw the line at that,
Yeah.
but that's all right.
You don't go to Janet Jackson?
No,
That's a
not
great
going
concert.
to-
Great concert.
Everybody put a lot. Good live music is people put on good shows. There's not too many
Right.
times you go to a show and say you can go to
Entertainers.
Vegas and see Celine Dion or Barry Manilow and say, you know what? I don't like their music, but they put on a really good show.
Yeah.
And most good concerts are, it's a good show. I just like the music.
Can appreciate it for what it is, the entertainment.
Boys, you want to talk about pool?
This is kind of a pool show.
I don't
guys.
know. This is a lot better than pool actually today.
Oh gosh. Well, hey, we got the Hanoi Open going on. It went down from 62 down to 16, and
64.
so I'm sorry,
64.
I said 62.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I've never
Weird
seen
format.
a 62-man bracket
62
before.
players.
That would be cool.
64 players down to 16, and some really interesting matchups. I think we're going to take you guys through that. Before we get going, any thoughts so far on just the tournament in general? I've seen a lot of interviews with a lot of sweaty people. It appears to be
Yeah.
pretty hot over there. We've heard some players kind of mention it. I don't know how much you can do about that in that climate, right? It's always going to be hot and sticky there. So,
Yeah. And
but
we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Is it something that you want to correct and make every event, the exact same, humidity, temperature, heat the tables? Is that
Go
what
ask
you
Donna
want?
Mills that question.
Or do you want to have it where, listen, we're not changing this stuff on purpose, but you play in Asia, it's probably going to be a little hot and humid. It's going to affect the conditions. We talked about it yesterday. Tennis, baseball, these are all outdoor sports, but they don't try to regulate the condition, right? Football fields, it can be 20 degrees below. It can have rained like hell the whole game. You just got to deal with it. And sometimes you're going to get a bad break out of the conditions, but that's part of the game.
Well, look at just the football game last night, right? You're playing in Denver with altitude and wind,
Right.
and
So,
I
that's
thought
and
that was in Kansas City. That was in Denver.
it was in Kansas City.
oh,
But
yeah.
you know,
It
Raymond's
could be
saying,
in
you know,
Denver.
the
Mike was too
world's
busy watching Taylor Swift in the box.
Yeah.
Raymond says the World Snooker
No,
Tour
and
doesn't deal
listen,
with that,
I
and
took
that doesn't surprise me that the snooker players, you know, they're kind of, you know, they wear bow ties and shit, so they can't, they're not allowed to
Hey,
sweat, so
listen,
they get like really uppity.
Pool
They
could use
get,
some bow ties, Mike, in some class. And I was never that dress code kind of guy, but they could use some bow ties in it. I wouldn't mind
yeah, they, I don't know. Like Fat said, bow tie on a pool player is like whipped cream on a hot dog.
Well, one thing that Raymond brought up when we did our Patreon video, by the way, guys, if you're not following us on Patreon, it's patreon.com/dogging it. We do some exclusive content over there. And I brought Raymond in and we talked for about, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes about the conditions at the US Open. And the thing that he mentioned was, not really from tournament to tournament, talking about the conditions in Hanoi
Arena
compared
to,
to the
yeah.
US Open, but the conditions from the feature tables to the outside tables. And he talked about how I played completely different. So that's an interesting angle too to kind of look at with these tournaments. You get under that feature table, you got the lights drying everything out, and especially if you have weather and you're in a certain part of the world or a certain part of the country, you got a lot of humidity affecting those outside tables. So just some things to chew on there that are kind of
Well, you
interesting.
know, even with World Snooker Tour, I mean, there's got to be a difference between the outside tables and the arena table, between
I
television
think
lights and things like that,
I
right?
think
So
because the slate is heated, I think it kind of brings a more consistent.
it's
Um,
probably more consistent. And I can go either way. I mean, if they want to regulate it, you know, go right ahead. If you don't,
I
just
mean, look,
deal with it.
there's certain things that just should be automatic. Air conditioning in 23 should be automatic. You know what I mean? Like, just I live in the land of humidity, right? Like, I live in South Texas on the Gulf. We know how hot summers are. I can only imagine how it is out there. Like, you don't want to be down in the ball when you got the bead of sweat coming down here, and then all it does is put you more on tilt and annoyed. And, I can only imagine it smells pretty
I
ripe
mean,
in that arena if that's how it is,
Filipinos have shot
So,
pretty good rotation for a lot of years playing in that stuff, and none of those pool rooms there have air conditioning. So
Serious question. Serious question. We had the issue at the U.S. Open with the shirt foul. What happens if a bead of your sweat drops on a ball?
act of God.
But you know what I mean? Like
Falls under
a
the act of
shirt
God.
touching a loose shirt hanging down and touching a ball is not going to move that ball or affect that ball in any way. But a drop of sweat could.
I did see Neil's post about, you know,
I didn't see it. I
when he
see
talked
Raymond's
about
comment in there.
it's you know it's not right that they play and then soaking wet buckets, whatever. I don't know.
Neil said that?
There's Neil's lost, you know, with a chance to win at the end, so that's usually when you get those kind of responses. But you know, I get it. It could be more uniform. It would be nice. The players would, have left. They'd still find something to bitch about, anyways. But
No, Mike. Not pool players. Not pool players, Mike. Say it ain't so. I get the idea for sure, and there's an argument to be had there. I think players.
I like a home field advantage. I mean, although you say the
Yes, we
reason the
talked about
Asia
that
guys in
yesterday,
third
Mike.
world country play conditions. You look at the final 16. It's 8 Europeans, guys. So they managed to fight their way through it.
Yeah, finally, okay, as we transition to this finally looked like the tournament where maybe the Americans had a chance of getting deep. We had quite a few players that were in the 64.
Here we go, Mike. Last American standing.
Mike, how's that over? How's that over under, Mike? How's that over under looking? Mike laid the line at what was it, 3.5?
It was supposed to be 2.5. I misspoke, but I was laying the line because I said 3 guys would make it. So the line would have been 2.5.
He said 3 guys would make what?
The final 16. I said 3 Americans would win 2 matches. Should have been 2. I mean, Shane, I don't know, but we'll talk about that later. But I thought that one of the other guys would come through with a second win.
It was almost Shane, and we're going to get to that match here in a minute. But because that ending was that whole match was pretty. Had my head scratching, and I was texting Mike, and one of us were just looking for updates. And all of a sudden, we saw the end, and it was. But the ending of the match, it was a little wild. Let's go through today's matches, though, boys. All right.
Yeah, let's bring them up.
All right, let's start with the morning. The big match on deck: Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, world number one, facing off against former U.S. Open winner, former world champion, and Carlo Beato. 10-6 score line. I was counting sheep at that time. I did not get to watch it, but pretty big win if you're Francisco and hitting the right gear at the right time of year.
Yeah, we saw Francisco, at the U.S. Open. He had some good matches, but I think underachieved a little bit to his standard. And it looks like he's back now, and he's clicking on all cylinders. Beating Carlo in the round of 64 is a huge win right there. And obviously, you see up on the screen what he did to Ralph in the next round. So I like FSR to be a favorite from here to get to the finals.
Yeah. Well, I have to look and see where he's at in the
So,
bracket.
so you're saying he beats Carlo, and then you like him to win against Sanjin. Basically, what you're saying. That's pretty bold.
Well, Sanjin's knocking off good players himself.
Bold reach there. No, I mean that.
Well, beyond that, you're looking at the winner of Feliciano and Ahmad Talik.
Well, it just shows
you gotta like where he's at.
Pool's very, what have you done for me lately? And it changes from, event to event. And in this case, it's tournament, week to week, right, Mike? So big win for Francisco when, he's coming off that injury at the US Open, really showing his form. Mike, what's your thoughts on that Carlo win and how he followed that up?
Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he needs, I think that he's looking to have a big performance. It's certainly not been last year's Francisco. I think he would admit that, but that's a hard act to follow up. So I just think he's trying to get his confidence back and that swagger back, and it looks through these first two matches in single elimination like he's got himself in a pretty good rhythm. So we'll see how that is going forward. Sanders, tough character.
With each of these events going forward for FSR, I think it becomes more and more important for him to get a win or a finals, so that way he's not questioning himself, because he was at the very top of pool, right? And so he doesn't want to kind of lose that and slip back down. So I know he's probably putting extra pressure on himself to say, hey, I need to get one of these, or I need to get in the finals of one of these, because the more this starts happening where he gets to the final 16 and then kind of gets knocked out, he might start doubting himself.
He's got to get another one of these big wins if he wants to be in the Hall of Fame discussion, right, Mike?
Oh, give me I'm about to go stone cold off 2 minutes into the show because Mike's just trying. Look, this is what Mike does. Mike tries to WPA me, right away and talk about the Hall of Fame with Francisco.
It's now a verb. Yeah. We're now using WPA as a verb.
Yeah, in this instance.
I got WPA'd.
Down below, Naoki Oi beats Amio Lenore 10-9 in a hill battle. Alexa losing in surprising fashion 10-8 to Sanjin, where we were all very high on the Alexa stock coming into it. Bit of a grudge match there with his buddy. Obviously they're really good friends. They travel together. Pretty heartbreaking, just considering that. And there was two guys that me and Mike talked about yesterday, just as far as having really big opportunities to make a wave on the European side. One of them was Alexa, kind of a bit of a letdown here, losing in the round of 64.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alexa's probably pretty disappointed right now. He had an opportunity to get deep into this event and gobble up some points for Mosconi Cup and maybe even slip into that third spot, I think, right? He was.
Yeah. He would have had a pretty deep run, but he was knocking. He was in the conversation
with the form that we saw him playing in at the U.S. Open. It's surprising to see him lose here, but Sanjin is definitely a capable player. Knocks him off and then goes on to beat Oi for good measure to face off against FSR. I think wasn't Sanjin the player that BJ made the post about in terms of like sanding down his shaft, cleaning his shaft between every single shot and playing really slow. So we'll see in the later stages of the tournament.
BJ was complaining about someone? That's how
it happened.
So
we'll see, as the later stages of
this tournament. Nobody's
Ever
thrown a stall on him in a gambling match in North Carolina.
Yeah, good.
The pressure gets amped up. The shot clock comes into effect. Will that affect Sanjin's play? Will he play a little different? But we'll see. So far, so good.
Big win for Sanjin. He was someone that we were real high on coming into the year. This time last year, he was one of the few Europeans we were talking about in that same breath as a Victor and just these guys that we think, okay, they're on the cusp, they're ready to explode. and then really kind of showing at the end of the year, hey, he's not gone anywhere. Although he was a little bit for 6 months, but really hitting a nice gear at the right time. I don't know where he is on standings, Mike, and if he even has like the outside of shots to, get an automatic or put himself back in contention with a deep run.
What's top prize here? Is top prize
40 maybe?
40,
I'm not
30,
sure.
40.
Let me see. There's three of us here. Some of us should have done some homework here. You would think.
Top prize is 30 grand.
Yeah,
30 grand.
I don't think. I'm not sure top prize gets him there with Jason already this deep.
Yeah, and Jason's still going on himself. By the way, how do we overlook that Ralph Suke match? I mean, talk about epic, man. How do you beat Anton? He's got to be at least twice his age.
We mentioned it. Ralph is is ageless and playing great this year, but we both picked Raga to win the match. So was I going to go out and pick Ralph's okay? No, not unless I was really going for an upset. But am I surprised that he was able to hold up with someone like that? No. I mean,
Isn't this the event that Billy was up 8-1 on Raga and Raga came back to beat him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, maybe Raga didn't have his best stuff this tournament. No disrespect to Billy or Ralph. But you didn't expect that score line for sure.
No.
I mean, after the last two matches or really tournaments we've seen of Ralph kind of beating bigger names that we were both surprised, one in Anton, the other one in Ouschan at the US Open. This format I feel like suits him without going too Joey Ryan on you, because he doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. He plays the game real simple, doesn't shoot the wrong shots and, just plays it to where the pocket's going to go and take it every time. He's never trying to power or overdo anything. But massive wins, man. He seems like he's got that break dialed in event to event. Massive win for Ralph. And who knows, man? Could the old man go and make another run at the Mosconi Cup? You never know.
No, but this looks like a classic case. This looks like a classic case of the letdown match, right? He has that huge win over Raga.
Well, 10-0, yeah.
Throws up the goose egg in the next round. Sometimes you expend everything you have to get through a match, and then the next match you just got nothing. And that appears to be what happened there in that matchup against FSR.
We're going to go through the round of 16 here in a little bit, but we'll keep on cruising along through the round of 32 and 64. Moving along to this next area, boys. Joe, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, Michael Feliciano, I believe he finished second in the Perry Open, and looks like he is playing in great form. Cruises through 10-4, 10-7 over Jeff DeLuna. I'm not too familiar with Ahmed Tawfiq, I have to be honest with you. But, hey, I got to pick Feliciano here to win that match and create an intriguing matchup there with the winner of Sanjin and FSR, probably FSR. That would be a good matchup there with a good young Filipino player against a good young European player, whoever it is.
Right.
Mike, is Ahmed like the Cinderella in the NCAA? Like, you see the one busting up everyone's brackets here? Because I've never heard of the dude. I couldn't point him out in a lineup, right? He's like the Division 4 who just happens to win, 2 or 3 rounds in the big dance, and all of a sudden he just keep on going. I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, it is. Where is he from?
No idea what that flag is.
Let's see.
Joey?
I'm looking.
All right, someone's going to jump in online real quick and tell us.
I guarantee you nobody knows where that flag is. No one in our chat knows where that flag is. And Joey's the geography man.
I have a geography degree. Hold on.
Oh, Brunel. Okay.
Brunei.
Indonesia?
Wow.
Brunei?
Oh, Brunei. Excuse me. Wow, we got some good guys in the chat here.
Yeah. These guys are.
We got an opening on the show because one of these two is going to get out of here if they don't learn some flags here pretty soon.
We're going to fire you, Molina.
Yeah. Michael Feliciano it seemed like the class of this area, just given the way that he's been playing over the last at least 6 months.
Brunei.
Obviously being from the Philippines, the conditions aren't gonna affect him too much. That Jeff DeLuna match was pretty strong for him. I like him going deep, but we'll continue on here in the round of 32 and 64, boys.
I've always heard of the Sultan of Brunei, but I don't know much about it other than it.
Let me see here.
Yeah, he's a Mez sponsored player, so it's not like he's a nobody.
Is he? Oh, I've never heard of that guy before.
Yeah, born in 1988.
Well, there you go.
Wow, he's an old guy.
Yeah.
I'm born in 86. What are you saying about me, Mike?
You're 2 years older than him.
Jason Shaw is making a run, boys, in a
is.
major in the time of year that he usually does it, no less. He beats a Vietnamese player 10-2 to start off in 64. Big matchup against Johan Chua in the round of 32. Chua coming off the win over P.S. Labudas. I got to watch a little bit of that matchup as soon as I woke up. That was pretty good showing from Jason. He was playing pretty sharp.
You know, if I was Jason, I would start insulting people like in the run up to Mosconi in January. Because when that starts happening, Jason starts playing his best pool. It's like something inside of it. It's almost like the spirit of a fighter, right? A boxer or something, where they go to the press conference and they got to take a swing at somebody and they got to act like, and then it just makes them, you know, geared up to fight. And it's the same way with Jason. You know, he's putting the social media out with snake, snake emojis, talking about Federer and stuff now, and going back and forth with Federer online. And it's just like it's getting him fired up, and he's playing really well. And you know, who's to say he can't win this whole event? I think he's got.
He's definitely better with a chip on his shoulder. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we've seen him have it. You know, when he won his first US Open, we saw him have it at the International. You know, that he likes that. So, but that's a hard thing to maintain 12 months a year. He did it that one year that he was player of the year in a runaway and smoked everybody and everything. But you know, showed after that's a hard pace to keep up.
I mean, he was kind of having an I don't want to say Francisco type run for a good 2 years there, but he had a pretty good run whenever he was with Mucci right before he switched to Perry, where he was dominating a lot of events. You know, and he was a heavy favorite going. You know. And so, but we also talked about how the guy just seems to disappear when it comes to single elimination. You know, I know he doesn't have the best run of the ball when it comes to the draw in match or majors or any major for that matter. But these are two solid wins for him, and especially going into the round of 16, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But you know, if you're a Jason Shaw fan, you got to be really optimistic just looking at what he can do in this event, just given what you've seen so far.
I think this was a pretty decent draw for the 64 for Jason, but you know, as these events go on, it gets tougher and tougher. And if he beats Van Lerup, he's up against the winner of Copigny and Federer Gorst. So everything from here.
Federer versus Jason matchup. How epic could that be? Is that true? Is that what we could get?
We could get that.
Oh,
we could get that in the quarterfinals.
I didn't even know that. How sweet would that be?
That would be Tilt City.
Oh my God, man!
That would be worth at least two. That would be worth at least 2 dogging shows leading up to it.
I'm getting up at 3 a.m. to watch that if that's the case.
How many times have we prepped we looked ahead of a matchup like that and it
never happened.
Yeah,
never. It never happened.
Yeah, never happened.
Van Lerup's gonna blow out Jason Shaw like 10-2.
Well, you know, we talked about Van Lerup. You know, he's played pretty well this year. I saw him play in Michigan. He had a really good tournament there at the Predator event there. So you know, he's obviously been playing fairly well. You know, I don't know if anybody saw any of the Sky match, but took him apart pretty handily, and then beat Fu. You know, who's another veteran player.
Fu ain't fooling around. So. That's for sure. You know, I'm saving my best stuff, Mike.
I don't know. I don't know who writes your stuff, but you're overpaying them.
No kidding. Big win for Van Lerup for sure. You know, kind of a bit of a letdown if you're a fan of Sky, because when I had someone ask me last night, you know, who do you like in the last longer? Just looking through brackets, I said, well, I kind of have to like Sky's matchup because I would have liked him against. It would have been closer against Wei, I feel like, than Van Lerup, but I really liked Sky in that matchup. Kind of a reverse scoreline from what you see on there. You know, big win for the Dutchman, following that up with an even bigger win in the round of 32. He's got opportunity here. Obviously, he's not in any kind of Mosconi Cup contention, but all it takes is a couple of good runs in an event, and all of a sudden we're talking about you like you're Mark Biesterbosch, you know? So, you know, that's all it takes, man.
Another Dutchman.
Yeah, big event for him. You know, a couple big wins there. But this matchup right here is one that could be a nice resume builder there for future years Mosconi consideration.
Right.
Let's keep on cruising along, boys. In the next round, pretty big one. I mean, you want to talk about area that's just
Full
stacked.
tilt.
Kopinyi takes down Imran Majid, the guy who's just always around in 10-6. Dodong takes apart Gerson from Peru 10-4. Big matchup between Ko, really box office, but kind of a bit anticlimactic. 10-4 win for Kopinyi to get through the round of 16.
This is a pretty tough group of 8 right here.
This was a solid group of 8.
Yeah, you talk about Jason maybe getting a little bit of a soft draw, but here there's not a whole lot of softness here. And Copigny and Federgors, probably the 2 favorites from the 8, make it through, but they were tested in doing so. A little surprised at the score line with Copigny and Aranas. I thought that might be a little bit closer, but Copigny must be playing really well. And this is fireworks here with this showdown with Federgorst.
Yeah. This is a big.
Who do you guys like in this
matchup?
I mean, Federer's going to have to be the favorite going into it. And let's save for the round of 16 talk. How about that, boys?
Okay.
Yeah. Big, but big early round or early this morning wins for Federer. I woke up to it being 8-8 with Kuo. Really seasoned Taiwanese player. Bit of a trap game. Federer, dodged that bullet. Comes out with the win. A comfortable win in the round of 32 as well. It does set up the blockbuster. That's going to get even juicier as this tournament progresses. But I feel like out of the class of here, the only other one that you really would have expected would have been Dodong coming out. But it's no surprise because Kopinyi, we know the kind of run that he could have, like in his engine. So we'll see what happens. But pretty solid round of 16 that we're coming up with, boys.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Moving along, we got Bernie taking down who is it? Rhoda 10-8. Oh, sorry, Luong 10-8. Li Van beating Roland Garcia 10-6. Li Van, man, that guy, he's the one that is super dangerous from the Filipinos. I mean, don't get me wrong, they all are, but Li Van has a real high killer instinct. It seems like when it's time for a major and when he starts just kind of getting a little bit of momentum, he's that guy you can see going into the finals, like we saw a couple of years ago against Josh at Derby City, right? Goes into that final, a bit of an underdog, and then just demolishes Filler. We know what he can do. Big win for Li Van. I can't wait to see what he does against David.
These
great matchup.
David and Li Van, when I was looking at this bracket, they kind of remind me of the same person. They're both awesome professionals. They both get the job done. They're just steady and consistent. And I kind of view them as very similar, just from different parts of the world, right? Nobody really wants to play them at this stage of a tournament because they're definitely both capable of winning. They both have that killer instinct. That's going to be a great matchup in the round of 16. I want to look down at the matchup with Shane Wolford and Moritz Neuhausen, and Shane gets that win 10-5. And much like you said about Sky's match, I probably would have gone the other way in predicting that and thinking that Moritz would have kind of slid by Shane there pretty handily, especially with Shane's pretty recent form. Even self-admitting that he was in a slump, but he seems to have broken out of that slump, and that's a big win for him right there. Of course, David takes him down 10-2 in the second round, but I'm happy to see Shane make the final 32 of this event. We know he traveled a long way. He's in points contention. He's one of those USA players affected by the Federgorst decision. So I think this was a good showing for him. And I know we're planning on doing a stock up, stock down show. I say stock up for Shane Wolford at this point.
Yeah, it's good. It's a statement win for him beating Moritz, because Moritz has really been kind of one of the flavors of the day for the past month or so. Right. So everybody really high on him, and he had Mosconi Cup shots. He was right in that conversation. If he, has a deep run here, he could have, stole that third spot. And we'll get to it as we go through the rest of this list. But, all those guys on that list who had a shot for Team Europe took a dive real early.
Took a dive is the
really
right phrase.
It was really surprising. So, but happy to see Shane. Must have played well to get through that match. I don't know if it was a letdown match against David or David just was on point, but still a pretty good statement for Shane. I think he did lock up what would have been the fourth spot. What would have been the third spot, and is now the 4th point spot. So is that good enough to make him a can't turned down pick for Jeremy. What do you
I
think?
think it definitely helps his status. Uh, he's in a lot better position after this event than before this event, in my opinion.
Mikey?
I don't know. I mean, look, the win
Does it
over
pass the eye test, Mike?
the win over Moritz is solid. Don't get me wrong, but
It's solid.
let's not forget here. We talk about Moritz and his upside, right? We know
Right.
the kind of run that he had at whatever it was, Rax in New York, right? And went on a pretty good tear there. But also kind of disappeared at the US Open. Kind of a letdown here in Hanoi, if we're being fair, you know. So good win for Wolford. We talked yesterday, Mike, and we said, listen, if he wins two matches, give the kid a jersey, right? Big win over Moritz, but let down over David. I think it's more of a. I didn't get to watch the match, but David is that steady guy, right? His break can be pretty lethal at times, and he doesn't do anything flashy. He just kind of gets there, similar to Ralph in a lot of aspects. But is it enough? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I still say that since he locked up what would have been the third spot, I think you got to give him a shot.
If that's the argument, which is a pretty fair one to have, you know what I mean? Nobody kind of stepped above him
Right.
In his showing, then yeah, I think you can definitely get there for sure. And it's going to end up being a pretty good matchup between David and Levan, by the way. But we'll talk about we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Moving on to the next area, we got Kazakis, man, who's just taking people down. Takes down Abdullah 10-3. A win that I did not expect to see coming. 10-6 win over Jeff Ignacio. Jeff is a very strong and seasoned young Filipino player. Very dangerous, solid win if you're Alex. And he is one of the guys now, just given the way that everything kind of happened in the round of 64, where if Alex makes a run, could he have Mosconi hopes? You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he has Mosconi hopes, but is it going to be enough? And can he get by Ouschan? That's going to be the question. I like Alex. Alex seems to be playing well, even not getting some of the results that maybe he was hoping for. It does seem like he's playing good matches, and maybe some unfortunate events are happening, knocking him out of tournaments. But good showing so far by Alex, and I'd be curious to get your guys' thoughts when we go down the round of 16, who you like in that matchup.
Yeah, well, Alex, he's just so steady. He's always gets to these parts of tournaments, and you start looking ahead at matchups, and you never pick his name. You just he's always there, but you're always kind of waiting him to lose the next round. But he's a solid player.
I mean, consistent is the right
experience.
word. Just
Consistent, solid, experienced.
Well, great 9-ball player, but he's not a killer. That's the thing with Alex. You
Right.
you gotta have some killer instinct to you to kind of take that next step. I'd love to see it because he's a good guy to root for. Very real nice guy, and he's got the world of talent. He's shown flashes where he looks like he could be in that elite European class that we have others in. A win over Jeff is certainly going to give you optimism. You got to follow that up with the win over Albin, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But if you're a Kazakis fan, I mean, you got to love what you've seen so far, and now you're in a good opportunity just given the way that things kind of shaped out. Down below, Captain America. Well, I don't know if you can even is Shane even Captain America anymore, or is Federer
He's
Federer
Lieutenant
now?
America.
Stop it.
Okay, excuse me, Lieutenant America, SVB. You're going to piss off a lot of people by saying that. Lieutenant America SVB takes down Michael Buchanan 10-6. Big win. And boy, what a letdown that was against Albin. I think he had like a 7-2 lead.
7-2. 7-2. He was at the table. 7-2.
Yep.
He was at the table and let one get away. And then Albin won a couple games. I'm like, oh, here we go. Game on. And Shane got to 8-5. But missed a couple of really critical shots down the way. Had ball in hand after the break at 8-8, and played a funny little combo. That left. They played a 2-6 that left a 2-ball kind of in a bad spot for him, and he let that Albin made an amazing table length jump to pocket that to run out, but and then in the final rack was running out and scratched playing for the 8. So, that's there. Was it the cloth? Was it the conditions? Was it hard to judge? Things like that. One way or another, he had opportunities and didn't get the job done. And we know it's been a really frustrating year for Shane. We've seen it in comments. We've seen it on his face. We've seen it in tournament results. You want to see him get his head straight before December, that's for sure. But right now, he's not in a really great place confidence-wise or interest-wise. Do you guys feel that
Yeah,
vibe too?
totally get that feeling, and it's frustrating for fans of the US, right? He's been our hope for so long in these events, and now that there's so many of these high top level events, I think we're seeing this so often. It just shows how high the competition is, and if you're not at the top of your game and feeling great and interested and sharp, that's going to happen to you, right?
Right.
His talent, his experience is going to take him to the final 64, final 32 of every single tournament. But in order to get past that mark, I mean, you really have to be sharp because every single player can play at this stage of the event. And I think we're seeing that. In years past, maybe there were 5 big events on the year,
Right.
and then Shane would go up to 4 bears and snap that off. So you're always used to seeing Shane win everything, right? Because there were enough of those other local events that didn't have like the super tough competition. But now we're not seeing him win much. But the competition is so high in all of these events that it's kind of he needs to get in form. He needs to be confident. Like you said, Mike, he needs to be interested. And it's kind of a letdown for him, I'm sure, and for the fans that are all like, man, let's have him get a big win so that we go into the Mosconi Cup feeling like, hey, Shane's back. Shane's ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the first half of the match, Albin looked the exact same way. Not interested, not confident, frustrated with himself.
Albin had one. He was already on the bridge, Mike. Albin
He
was fully
He had
tilted.
one foot. He had one foot on the edge of the bridge.
Shane had him right.
Too.
He had him right where he wanted. Right where he wanted. After he gets frozen on the 8 ball, whatever it was, kicks at the 7 and scratches. And then some guy in the military was sitting right behind Albin, and me and Mike sent each other a message like, "What the hell is going on over here?" But it's a grudge match, and Albin, for even you can argue he hasn't had the year that we've expected from him.
Not at all.
Don't get me wrong, and that's true, and that's absolutely fair. But Albin's still a killer, right? Albin can still go and put you away if you don't put him away. So any kind of opportunity, I feel like Albin can compartmentalize and then just kind of reshift it back into gear. Especially if he gets a hair momentum, no pun intended there. And
we're not going back to his retreating to the comb over.
But it's just Albin is still Albin, right? He's very decorated, and look, the guy's a multiple time world champion. He's been in more world championship finals over the last 10 years than I think anybody, right? So we know what he can do. Grudge match between these two. Surprised to see Shane let him off the hook. Listen, Shane's gonna go home. He's gonna go fishing. He's gonna decompress. He's gonna get back in the lab, get remotivated, re-inspired. And I feel like he's going to come back with a vengeance in the home stretch of the year. But this isn't an easy event, right? You're in a completely different area of the world. Your humidity getting to you. You're aggravated. You're the last match. Shane can get annoyed too.
Yeah, I highlighted that comment from Jenny Ann, and I think that's a very good observation. It just doesn't seem as if he's as hungry now as he was at a different point in his career. And that's understandable, right? He's won everything. He's done everything. But there's just these matches that it feels like a few years ago, Shane would have found a way to win that match.
Yeah.
Well, when you're up 7-2 in winter break, you're supposed to, but listen, it's not always going to end up the way that it does. But to go and say, maybe Shane's just disinterested is completely, fair to have. His face wears it. You can see it from his body language, but look, man, I can't even go to the gas station without getting jet lagged. That dude's on the other side of the world, playing in an event. I think it's pretty reasonable. I feel like, and I don't think he's got a whole lot to prove at this point. He's already locked up number 3. Shane's doing all right for himself. We'll see. moving along to I don't think this is the last section, but close to it.
Yeah, close
Um,
yeah, someone who didn't do himself
this
any favors.
this is a bit. This for me, Mike, was the letdown of letdowns in the round of 64.
Yeah.
Mike, out of
Losing to
everybody,
Francesco. I mean, I love my Italians,
Oh,
but
Mario.
seriously, with all
Well,
this on the line, Mario goes down to Francisco Candela.
listen,
10-6.
everything set itself up for Mario, right?
Yeah.
Everything. The Federer thing completely played into Mario's favor, right? Now you end up with this round. You could go and you're supposed to beat Frank, and I like Frank, great guy, watches the show. But you're supposed to beat Frank, and then it's supposed to set up, this is one of those like I can stamp my case for the Mosconi Cup in beating Little Co in the round of 64. Complete letdown for Mario. I'm super frustrated by seeing that because he had so much opportunity here to grab the bull by the horns, and he didn't.
the only problem with your scenario there is he wasn't going to beat Little Co. Okay, Little Co he is on all cylinders right now. He's playing great. Look, he's beating people 10-1, 10-4, 10-0 at the US Open. Little Co was going to win that match against Mario. I don't think that match was as big as you think it was, because it's not like he was going to be able to accumulate enough points by winning that match and then losing the very next match to Little Co.
No, he would not have. He would have had to go. He would have had to go 16 or 8.
He would have had to pull off.
No,
Probably
but
the upset
that would have been
year.
a statement win. If you're saying that Mario, obviously he would have been an underdog to Little Co. But if you're saying he can't beat him, your head's under a rock. That when Mario is dialed in and his break is where it can be, Mario is a top tier player for
he
sure.
Can beat him. He's just not going to beat him right now in the form that Little Co is in. He wasn't going to beat him.
Joey, did you know Little Co came from the one loss side?
It's still, I'm just telling you.
I'm just saying.
We're down to single elimination.
He may snap off the event.
This is a different ball game.
But
they know they don't have a life left. Little Co is not going to lose that match. And I love Mario. I think he's a great player. In fact, he's my son's favorite player. He's always like, how did Panda do? How did Panda do? Well, I'm going to tell him. Panda lost to Frank Candela, and it wasn't good. So
I called an all Austrian round of 16 in this area, and I got halfway there.
Good call,
my man Max. Well, listen, that was a bit more of my heart. Little Co was the class of the area up top for sure. No one's going to argue that. We all saw the beatdown he put on Yap. We saw the finals against Federer at the US Open. We saw him get in the finals of Qatar. You know what I mean? So no one's gonna argue that.
Yeah, no, Max is a good, he's got a chance against Little Co. I mean, statements, we can talk about this when we get to round of 16, but you're talking about, Mario leaving some points and some favor on the table by losing to Candela. Now Max Lechner, I mean, these guys may not make it to the. I mean, Jason's got the third spot pretty much locked up unless Max wins this and Jason loses the next match, or maybe, I'm not even sure if that does it. But you put yourself way into the equation if you're Max by going deep here, because we'll talk about, who are, with Jason locking up the third spot, who's in consideration for 4 and 5. A deep run here by Max makes it serious.
Yeah, and my point wasn't that Little Co is unbeatable at this stage of a tournament, but I think Max has a lot better chance of beating him than Mario. Just with the way Max is playing, the track record, Max has gone deep. Max went deep a couple weeks ago in the US Open. So I think Max does have a shot in this match, but he is also an underdog, probably at least a 2 to 3 game underdog, I think, here against Little Co. But we're not talking about that match yet. But congrats to Max for getting deep again, down to the final 16. Beats Elliot Sanderson 10-2, knocks off Jonas 10-8. Max is playing great.
Mike looks like he wanted to jump on those 3 games taking Max.
He's like, you're talking about my boy.
I saw his eyes light up. I'm like, holy shit, he's going to snap.
I can't believe he's talking about my boy.
It's tough. It's real tough because it's I don't think that line is out of line, just given what we've seen Little Co's gear be at lately. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, if from a betting standpoint, I think it's a lot more it's a lot better for taking Max given that line, because Max can make a few games together in his own right. Little Co's a monster.
Yeah,
You know, he's
clearly.
he's an absolute monster, and he's a player where, you know, you better make sure you finish him, because if not, he's going to finish you.
Yeah.
You know. Moving along to the next area, we got Niels taking down Tyler Steyer 10-7. Aloysius taking down Oliver Villafuerte, another guy who's playing pretty good in his own right. And Yap taking down Niels in a bit of a nail biter, 10-8. We kind of got robbed of the opportunity to see what could have been with Aloysius, right? He comes off a final in the Predator event, you know, and is in a semifinal of the US Open, gets completely steamrolled. And it's you know, can we see if he can make the best of this opportunity now, because he's in a pretty good spot himself.
He is in a
Well,
good spot.
I think he's doing great. I mean, if you look at that match getting completely whitewashed at the U.S. Open, that could have had a psychological effect on him, but it's showing not to have had that effect. The guy's got a lot of confidence. He also has a lot of pressure because of the barring of the Singaporean players. So this is kind of his only way now of making money, outside of his federation, outside of the WPA, and he's once again got to the final 16 here. He's looking pretty good. That win against Niels is a big win. We know Niels is just a tough competitor. Little disappointed with Tyler losing to Niels, but it's just what happens at this stage of the event. But I know for the American fans, I'm just trying to put it out there the way I feel as a fan, which is great that we had 6 Americans in the final 64, but I just want to start getting more in the final 16,
Yeah, of
so
course.
it's tough to blame Tyler. He's playing his best. He's trying his best. He lose to, future Hall of Famer Niels Feijen. What do you do? And then you look down at the bottom part of the bracket, and Oscar gets his win in the 64, and then he comes up short against Kyle, fabulous player there from the Philippines. But I want to see those American flags progressing throughout the bracket, and we're just not seeing it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, for Tyler, I don't think there's any shame losing to Niels with that score line anymore. There's any shame losing to Kyle if you're Oscar, right? We know that Tyler's had Niels' number over the last few years, and I don't think it really changes. At least for me personally, it doesn't really change my thoughts on where Tyler is, in the American Mosconi Cup pecking order. Obviously, you would have liked to see him take that next step, and see what he could have done against Yap, but look,
Well, I
kudos to
saw some of
Niels.
this post, and I don't think he was, and Raymond even brings up he wasn't feeling good. He wasn't in great health over there. So I think Sky a little bit the same thing. A lot of those guys came out of the U.S. Open sick. European players, a lot of the players who were at the U.S. Open came out there not doing well, and that's why I kind of give Moritz a little bit of a mulligan here, because I gave him a mulligan at U.S. Open. He was sick.
Oh, of course, we saw him there holding the cup of tea and trying to
with,
warm up, and
with his,
freezing cold with his cup.
still almost got there against Mark. He still almost beats Mark.
So I'll give these guys
that.
a little bit of slack on if they're not feeling 100%, but would have liked to have seen him beat Niels, but there's no great loss in beating Niels.
Look, man, I don't know, man.
And then Niels had his shot against Yap and missed an 8 at 9-8 that was about 6 inches from the packet. Really wild.
You lived in Chicago for forever, Mike. You know the Jordan flu game. I mean, come on, man. I get the being sick argument, but you know what I mean? Champions dig deep, Mike. Champions find a way.
Yeah.
But no, all jokes aside.
Tyler, I love Tyler. He reached out to me when I was having my health issues, recommended some diet and other tips for my health and things like that. So, the guy, I'm sure he's on like a low carb diet. He's out there in the Far East where, the staple is rice and stuff who knows? This is all stuff that players need to get used to now that this has become a global tour. Right? Yeah. They're going to be in Asia. They're going to be in the United States. They're going to be in Europe. It's going to be all over the place. And I think we're going to see more of these players fighting illness and having to rise and overcome. It's not easy. It's going to be tough.
No, true.
Well, kudos to Kyle for a great run down there at the bottom. I'm really, really looking forward to this matchup against Yap in the round of 16.
That's a good one.
It's a really good one. We're going to transition over to the round of 16, boys. Starting up top, we got FSR versus Sanjin from Bosnia. Who do you like in this matchup and why?
I'll tell you what, who do you like? I'm writing these down because we always make these picks, and at the end of the day, you pick like the two that you got right, Melina, and tell us how stupid we are. But I'm actually
who was the
making.
one? Let me tell you something. Who was the one that picked Dang when neither one of you donkeys could even spell Dang to win
Dang.
the Spanish Open? Huh?
Dang, you went there?
Enlighten me for that pick.
Every
Yeah.
once in a while, you pick a
He's
winner.
gonna live off that one for the next 10 years.
Listen, I should have just left the shot up, right? Left the Jordan up, and then just walked away. Never came back to do another show again.
But you're
Hey,
greedy.
I want to
You came
see
back.
Melina, impress me. Do it Dominic Dunn style and either say I want the left or I want the right. Which one you want?
No, here we go. All right, FSR versus Sanjin. Who do you got,
I'm
boys?
left all day.
I think we're all going FSR in this one. Is that right?
I'll go
we gotta
Sanjin.
go.
You're going Sanjin?
Mike?
Yep.
Wow.
Put me
You
down
want
for
to double
Sanjin.
You want
Okay,
to
I
double
got
down on your dinner, big boy? Is that what you want to do?
What do
Huh?
you want, dessert too now or what?
Of course, yeah. No, right. This is you got the soup and the sandwich. This is the meal, right? This is the meal. So I'm going Banya on you. No, I mean, look, we saw the scoreline with Francisco coming off a big win over Carlo, following that up with a unbelievable performance over Ralph. I don't expect any letdown here. I want to see the guy get back to that killer instinct kind of mode that he can do, and I'm really looking forward to this matchup in the round of 16 as well. Down below, we got Feliciano, who I'm assuming we're going to take against Ahmad. I don't know if any of you boys want to take a flyer, but I know I'm not.
Well, no. I mean, I'm actually rooting for Feliciano with the event that he just had, and love seeing new young Filipino players kind of pop on the scene, at least new to us, right? I'm sure that the Asian contingent knows him quite better, but I want to see him win, and I want to see a nice matchup there in that next round too. So I'm going with Michael.
No, without a doubt. Yeah, I like him in that matchup as well. And I want to especially see that showdown of Feliciano versus Francisco. That's one in the round of 8 that I'm looking.
We're all three going with Michael.
Yeah, for sure.
So we should say where we're going in round of 8 then too, because all those matches will be done by the time we get back on tomorrow too, right?
Okay, so then who would you like between FSR, or I guess in our case FSR and Feliciano? In Mike's case, Feliciano versus Sanjin.
I'm taking Feliciano to get through to the final 8 no matter what.
That's interesting because
down to 4, Mike. Down to 4. 16 to 8 to 4.
16 to 8 to 4. Yeah, to 4.
Okay.
That's interesting because I'm also going to take Feliciano with the upset over FSR.
Hey, man, we can't keep on doing this when we're all picking the same thing, right? So, just looking at
you want to take the chalk anyway, Mike.
No, I was going to take Feliciano as well to get through the round of 4 in that section. Yeah, I like him in that spot, but for the sake of argument, I'll take Francisco. We'll be the other side this time. In the next area, we got Jason Shaw over Jan van Lierop, Mike's boy. So we know Mike's going to take the Dutchman. I'm taking the guy from the UK. And then we got the big one after that, Kopinyi versus Federer Gorsh.
Hey, you can't speak for Mike. You can't speak for Pinozo.
Well, somebody's got me taking
Mike's
Van
going
Lierop
completely off.
Jason.
Mike's taking Van Lierop for sure. He's been high on Van Lierop for the last
I don't believe it.
Minutes.
Pinozo, what do you got?
I got Jason Shaw. Are you kidding me?
I knew it, of course. And that's so funny how Melina tried to just completely rig the whole system and said, Pinozo's got.
That's how he got the dinner too. So
yeah, I got Shaw as well winning that one. I think that'd be quite an upset for Van Lierop to get past Jason Shaw. Next one, Kopinyi and Federer Gorst. The big matchup. Who do you got, Pinozo?
This is Mike's taking the adopted son for sure.
Another epic battle between the Taiwanese player and the American.
I'm waving the flag.
You taking Federer?
The American flag?
The white one.
The white one. I don't blame you. After picking Van Lierop, I don't blame you, brother. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm taking Federer in that.
Okay, Federer. Melina, what do you got?
If Federer beats Cole, Federer's beating Jason. I can tell you that. Because I like, listen, Jason's playing good right now, but Federer's playing on another level, right in that class of Ko Ping Chung. That's how Federer's winning. I think that, if anything was a trap game, it was that round of 64 for him. He dodged that bullet. I expect him to go on a run. I like him in the next 2 rounds, getting through the final 4.
I'm predicting a little bit of a letdown here. I'm going with Copigny. And I'm also taking Copigny to win that. So you got Federer advancing, Mike?
I do, yeah.
I have over Shaw. And who do you have between Shaw and Federer, Panoso?
I have Federer.
Okay.
But that's, you talk about Shaw, how well he plays with a chip on his shoulder.
Don't try to
That would
hedge,
be it.
Mike. Don't
No,
try
no,
to
I'm,
hedge.
I'm just looking,
You
look
know
at
how
last year.
hard it
Look at
is?
last year at the International when Federer ran through Team Europe into that and then ran into Jason at the end of the 9-ball event. Jason got the better of him. So,
He did.
that's
Mike's
that match, there's going to be a lot of hostility in that match.
Mike's leaning on stats here. Mike's going on recent history. I like it, Mike. Finally, some
Do
credibility.
you know
to
how
your
hard
argument.
it is to win 2 events like this back to back? So while Federer is in good form and I'm sure he's one of the favorite picks to do this, I see something weird happening and him not advancing. I don't know if it's going to be against Copigny. I think it is, but it's going to be really hard for him to win this event after winning the previous one.
All right, we'll see. In the next round of 8 players up top, we got Lee Van versus David, Kazakis versus Albin. Mike, who do you got?
I got Lee Van over David, and I have Alex over Albin, and I have Lee Van over Alex.
Nice. Joe?
Okay, I'm going a different route. I like David because I always bet against David. Wow. I always count David out. Wow. I always say that David's going to lose this round. David's going to win this round. I got David. I got David against Albin, and I got David advancing.
I'm going the other way. I'm taking the Filipino. I'm taking the Slayer. I'm taking Lee Van over David in a real close matchup, something like 10-8. It'll be nip and tuck. It'll be back and forth because they're both amazing players and both playing great right now. In the next round, I like, you know what? If Albin can dodge a bullet against Shane, I'm going to expect him to follow that up over Kazakis. I'm taking Lee Van and Kazakis in the round of 8, and I'm sticking with the Filipinos.
You picked the opposite of what you said, right?
No. I said no. I said if Albin can dodge a bullet against Shane, I'm liking him to beat Alex. Is what I'm saying.
Right, and then you said
I'll take Alex.
Lee Van against Alex.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I'll take Albin over Alex.
We're talking about hedging. Holy crap!
Oh yeah,
right there.
I'm arguing one way, and I'm listen. This is what I'm doing. You guys never gonna know where I'm gonna do. I'm coming all kinds of ways at
you. Who you got, Lee Van or Albin?
I'm taking the Filipino. I am. I'm taking the Filipino to make it through the round of 4. Lee Van Corteza in that section.
We could have 3 out of 4 quarterfinalists from the Philippines.
Well, they kind of all fell off the map after having 17 and 64, and then we're only left with 1, 2, 3, and 16. So I'm hoping we get some through to the final 4 for sure. Yeah. In that bottom area, Ko Ping Chung against Max Lechner. Joey, I know you're picking Little Ko. You don't even got to tell me. Your smile, your face says I'm picking Little Ko. I feel it in your soul,
I'll take
my man.
Ko.
Mike?
I'll go Max and Yap, and I'll take Yap to the final 4.
What?
Wow.
Strong.
I don't know, man. This area is tough. I mean, I can make an argument for either one of these 4 players. I think the chalk pick would probably be Yap and Little Ko, which I would love to see that rematch and then maybe see Yap give it to Little Ko the way that he had to take it at the US Open. But, of course, it never works out the way that we hope.
No, it doesn't. That's why I'm picking this way, because then the odds are my picks won't come through and we'll get the matches we really wanted.
Oh, here we go. He's using the reverse psychology against the pool gods. I like it.
It's a good thing you don't sports bet, Mike.
Look, I'm taking Max Lechner over Little Ko. I'm taking Kyle Alvarado against Yap. I'm taking Max over Kyle to make a run at the Mosconi Cup. That's my heart. My head tells me Little Ko is coming out of there, though.
I got Little Ko against Kyle, and I got Kyle with the upset.
Atta boy.
There you go. All right, well, give me
or go home.
Don't give me your final 4. Obviously, we know your final 4. Give me your 8. Give me your winner, not your 8. Give me your winner from here.
It's a big stretch. Give me your 8. No, give me your winner.
Yeah. Give me the
I'm going all Filipino final. Michael Feliciano against Kyle Amarado.
Wow.
I like
it.
Some kind of.
It's going to be a complete shocker, but it's going to be very Asian, and it's going to happen.
Mike?
I suppose I got to take someone I picked to reach the Final Four.
It's
don't
the
I?
Hanoi Open. We're in Asia, home field
It might.
advantage.
By the way, no more Vietnamese players. I just realized.
Yeah, and I was looking at that. That was really disappointing
Yeah.
because I was hoping just for hometown crowd, for just enthusiasm around arena or whatever,
Yeah.
we'd get a couple of Vietnamese players into that final 16. Win it all, win it all, win it all. Lee Van.
It's a live show, boys. Lee Van?
Yep.
Did you even pick Lee Van coming out of that area?
Yes.
Joey?
Yeah, he
Did you
did.
confirm? He did?
He had Lee Van over Alex.
Okay. All right. Lee Van over
Man.
Alex. There
Which
go.
you had Lee Van over Alex, but you had Alex losing to Albin. So.
Yeah.
I want to see Mike go like against one of his picks right now. Go ahead, give me your
I'm
winner.
going the trickery on you. I'm taking Ahmad to win it all from here. Boy. No, I'm kidding. No, look, I'm taking a Federer versus Kyle Alvarado final with the young Filipino superstar becoming a world superstar. Kyle Alvarado for the win is who I'm picking. That kid seems poised. He seems like he's tough as nails. He's got a game to back it up, and he's got all the tools. Give me Kyle.
I knew you were going to do this because you just picked Max Lechner to beat Kyle.
You didn't even pick Kyle in the Final Four.
I'm using my head this time instead of my heart. Is what I'm going all kinds of way.
Did we name this show correctly or what? This is the Dogging It show, folks. We dog it every single time, and Melina just dogged it as bad as you can.
I'm not taking notes over here like you, Ryan. I'm over here just looking at the head. Like I told you, that pick down below was with my heart. I was picking it with my heart because I'm hoping Max wins. But listen, man, those other three guys are brutal. Ko Ping Chung is brutal. A Yap is brutal.
Yeah, no, that's the
killer
foursome right there.
You know, I mean. The only guy on earth that you would want to be in that spot, and maybe you kind of have some hope, is Federer going up against those four dudes, because Federer is that kind of guy right now. But I mean, that area is unbelievable.
This whole 16 is unbelievable, really. You take out the one guy that we really haven't heard of, Tawfiq, which obviously he can play, and there's no easy.
Pretty solid, yeah.
Spot. Solid. No easy spot at all. So,
no, not at all.
Well, that was a lot of fun.
Shout out to all of our sponsors you guys see all around here. We appreciate all you guys for supporting the show. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in as well. It's to be a fun show. We'll try to go live. Joey, are we going live tonight? You're supposed to go live last night.
So I am.
Anything to talk about between now and tonight?
I switched my flight.
Stock up, stock down type deal.
Yeah, I switched my flight, so I won't be into San Diego until like 9:30 tonight. So maybe tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning.
Shocking. All right, we'll go. We'll do a. What's that, Mike?
No. I was just saying. What do you guys think? And I don't want to start another 20-minute conversation, but we keep talking about USA players and how it stacked up for Mosconi Cup. How do you think this is starting to play out now that Jason? We always thought Jason was a lock for the wild card pick, right? Well, now he took the point spot, so now you got two true wild cards that you're going to be picking. You don't have the lock cinch in Jason. He's already off the board. The talk, there's all sorts of talk about whether Filler's going to get a shot or not, whether he's, uninvited or not. If speculation, if he's not on the team, those two wildcard spots are wide freaking open, right?
Wide open. Wide open. And there's still names on this list that can make a push for it, right?
Max for sure can make a push at it. Albin could make a push at it if he went real deep.
Kazakis.
Yeah.
So one of these guys gets to the final or wins this event. I mean, they have to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if Josh is a pick, who are you picking for that fifth? Because that's still a big question mark.
Yeah.
Either which way you look at it. Look, the philosophy on the European team has always been no rookie is going to get a wild card, right? That's always been the case for the last however many years, right? Can we see something different this year? I don't know. I wish we would have gotten the chance to see Kachi play at this event. The fact that we didn't changes the game completely for me. And they'll listen, Ralph will never say I'm going to be watching the World 8 Ball to see how the kid's playing right now, but he may be watching the World 8 Ball to see how the kid's playing right now. Because you want to see, how Kachi started the year. You're giving a lot of weight and credit to that, and he's still, even with missing whatever it is, 4 months now, however long it's been, he's still right there around that same money range for a lot of these players. So are you giving that a lot of credit? I would. I mean, I would at least.
I definitely got to see how he's
At the eye.
playing. I definitely got to see how he's playing.
Did Kachi really have travel troubles?
I don't know. There was
Yeah.
photos of him at the airport. With
No,
the
Joe, he
plane.
went to the airport and got through security just for a photo op, Joe. That's what he did. Yeah.
Or
Just
was
Plane
or
turned
was
around and
that
went half.
or did somebody turn up the heat from the federations and he
don't
made
think
it he made an
Kachi-
executive decision?
Kachi marches to Kachi's drummer. Nobody in Europe marches to his own drummer more than Kachi does. Nobody tells him
He'll
where he's
snap
going.
you
or
in
what he's
two,
doing.
Joe. You don't want that.
I know. I'm always
snap-
doing something to
he'll
piss him off too.
Yeah. He will snap you in
Why
two.
don't I
No,
pick
but it's-
on
I'm
like
sure
somebody
Kachi's been hitting
smaller?
balls every day, but if he makes the team, I know what I'm doing.
Okay, let's say
with his left arm that he said looks like a road map right now. I'm setting him up for jump shots every chance I get.
listen, there's a lot of question marks for the fifth on both teams because I don't think
Yes.
anybody stole any kind of spot. And I don't think that this event really separated anyone one way or the other for
Listen,
either team when it
think
comes
it's
to
not
the
over
fifth.
yet.
Max makes a deep run, I think he'd have a really good argument for number
Yes.
5. Really
Agreed.
good argument.
But we know he's in the worst spot you could possibly be in out of the entire.
Which is
16.
why if he gets to the final, even if he doesn't win it, if he gets to the final, I mean, how can you turn the guy down after what he did last year and then at the end of the year and got left off, and now he does the same thing this year at the end of the year? I don't think you leave him off.
If Josh makes the team, you're picking Max then to be the number 5?
No, if he goes deeper, in his term, he comes through that group of 4 that he's in right now, and he's the last man standing out of those 4. Hell yes.
What about if he doesn't? Who are you picking as your number 5?
No clue. No, I'd have to really look it over.
I think when Ralph sits down and takes a look at things, let's say the Europeans all, lose their first match here or their second match, right? So nobody makes the final or goes super deep, which I think is possible that could happen. If you're Ralph, I think you take a look at a lot of things. And one of those things is like a guy like Albin. Albin's got the experience. He's played in the event. He's a consummate professional. He's going to prepare. He's going to be ready. He's not in top form, or at least we haven't seen him in top form this year, but he's certainly capable of getting you points at the Mosconi Cup. We all know that. So I would think that Albin would be a pretty natural potential selection for him.
I mean, there's a lot of guys he could rationalize. A lot of guys he could rationalize. A couple guys that would be rookies. He could rationalize guys who've been on the team, whether it's
rookie.
Kazakis, whether it's.
I can't see a rookie, Mike.
You don't see Max Lechner goes to the finals of this event.
That's the only way I could see it, right? I think they have to play their way in, essentially.
Yeah.
And now it's wide open with Alexa going bye-bye, with Mario not there.
I think Alexa's off the board for me.
Yeah. Alexa, Moritz. Moritz, I think they're off the board. Yeah.
Mario, big disappointment, man. It's hard to, I wouldn't say he's off the board, but he didn't do himself any favors.
Joey makes a good point when it comes to Albin. I have not been impressed with Albin's game. I feel like at big spots in he's good enough to get into like the 8s and maybe the 4s, 16 ranges, right? But he just finds a way, like that 4 or 5 ball, whatever it is that he dogged off to Shane earlier, that Shane let him off the hook with that scratch at the end, right? That's what Albin has been doing lately. He did the same thing to Carlo when he was having a run out in, I think it was China, dogged off a ball that he had no business missing, right? And so I ain't been that impressed with this game, but I think just given his legendary December status at the Mosconi Cup and given the fact that nobody else has separated himself, I'd probably go with Albin.
I think that's what got Albin on the team last year, and he didn't dazzle me last year.
No, but you just need him for leadership and for stability, right? Yes. That's all you're going to need him for, right? Just to kind of don't dog it off too bad.
Yeah, I mean, and I think in some ways, sitting here as kind of pundits looking at this, we're way overly critical. Like Mike's like, yeah, I mean, he hasn't done much. He's gotten to 8s and 16s. Like we just showed that how difficult it is to get to a final 16 or a final 8 in this type of event. Players like Shane Van Boening are struggling to get there. So, I mean, his not in top form is still better than most of the Americans, if not all.
Well,
Yeah,
because
but that
Except for
puts him in
Federer.
no,
line. That puts him in
I'm
line
talking
with
about
about
versus other
7 other
Europeans.
Europeans. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about other Europeans though,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Albin's in that like Josh, Shane, like top A1 kind of. That's how we judge his accomplishments by. It just is because he's a well decorated player. You know, he's won majors, he's won a bunch of championships. So, yeah, I think that's completely fair to have that discussion about it. But even then, like I would still right now take him over Max. Like I said, unless Max goes on a run, you know. But Mario was the biggest. Mario was just completely broke my heart, man. I really wanted to see that guy make the team.
Yep.
I did, you know, and earn his way on there. But either
How
way,
about
hey,
how
listen,
about this? How about this? Last thing. Sanjin's still alive. Sanjin makes it to the final. Could he be
Mike.
considered?
No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they have 2 wild cards to pick, it's possible. If they have 1, no.
I don't think there's any way you throw him out there right now.
What about if he wins it?
We'll see you next year at the Mosconi Cup, kid, but not this
No,
year.
you can't. There's no way he wins this and doesn't get picked for one of the
You
wild
think
cards.
so? If he wins,
Yeah. Who's he going to take? Someone like Max hasn't won a tournament. You can take someone like Mario hasn't won a tournament. You can
So
take
you
someone
would
like
take-
tournaments.
you would
won a
take a
tournament.
Sanjin going on a one tournament run versus Albin and all of his veteran status, is what you're saying. All of his accomplishments in the Mosconi Cup.
Yes, I would take a guy who won a major tournament a month before Mosconi Cup. Yes, I would take him. I think you earn a spot when you win a major tournament during the course of the year, and all these other guys haven't won one. I don't care what they did last
Are
year.
you
20
even
years
considering
ago, 10 years
Hanoi
ago.
a major? I don't even think I've gotten the official release from Panozzo Enterprises.
The Billiards Digest press release on.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
I think-
the official. Like that's how you're
I
judged
think
on
the
major categories.
natural, I would put, for where how I stack people up, all the Matchroom primary events to me would be in the same. They're all cookie. They're all template. They're the same. They're the same events. The
I
same as
think
the
in the
European Open,
future,
the UK Open.
I agree.
The
I'm just giving
Spanish
you a hard
Open.
time. Of course, it's
in
a
the
major,
future,
but I
I
still don't
think
know that I would put him in the Mosconi.
I think there needs to, how like in baseball for years it was batting average, ERA, the same stats, right? Now they have all these new advanced statistics to evaluate players.
Wins
And
against replacement, my favorite.
I really think that there needs to be some thought process given as to who's chosen, and not just they won a major, because getting points in a Mosconi Cup is so much different than winning a big event, right? From start to finish. It's like completely different. A race to 5 alternate break compared to races.
It's about a team.
Races to 10 or 11.
It's about making the best team. I don't know how you can say I'm putting Sanjin in and he's making the team better. I can't see it. And I'm not saying it to be ugly to the kid, just not yet. It's not your time yet. Unless you would have to do a lot more and show a lot more, even just marginal consistency over the year, but I ain't.
So if Filler is on the team, you got no room for a rookie.
I'd probably still take it for me.
I want to see new people. I want to see new people get on the team because I want to see new faces. I want to see new people.
Well, I think you're going to
because they're rewarded.
I don't think Josh is going to get there. I don't think Josh is going to be there. Personally, I don't. I don't think Josh is going to. So I think you're going to be afforded that opportunity regardless.
Dead set that Josh will not be there.
I agree with him, but we're not being told that. And let me tell you this: I think European players, who are on the team, like a Jason, who's very vocal. Okay, if Federer was still on Team Europe, he'd take anybody as his fourth and fifth, right? Federer is on Team USA. All of a sudden, Team USA is trotting out Shane, Sky, and Federer 1, 2, 3.
Oh, they ain't stealing anymore.
All of a sudden. Yeah, so all of a sudden, I think Jason becomes a big Josh Filler fan real quick.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you guys later. And, yeah.